October 2024. The air in Cuba, usually alive with the rhythms of salsa and the scent of cigar smoke, hung heavy with uncertainty. A nationwide power outage, the worst in decades, had plunged the island into darkness. The familiar hum of refrigerators and the glow of televisions vanished, replaced by the eerie silence of a nation on hold. From the crumbling grandeur of Havana to the sun-drenched beaches of Varadero, the story was the same. Cuba, known for its vibrant energy, was struggling to keep the lights on. The government pointed to aging infrastructure and the crippling effects of the US embargo, factors that had long plagued the island's power grid. Hurricanes, a constant threat in the Caribbean, had dealt the final blow, damaging power lines and further crippling an already fragile system. The Cuban people, no strangers to hardship, found themselves facing a new reality, one where the most basic necessities, like light and refrigeration, were no longer guaranteed. The impact was immediate and far-reaching. Hospitals struggled to operate on backup generators, their capacity stretched thin. Schools were forced to close, disrupting the education of a generation already facing an uncertain future. The rhythm of daily life, the heartbeat of this vibrant nation, faltered. The blackout, however, was just the beginning of a crisis that would test the resilience of the Cuban people and send shockwaves through its vital tourism industry. The blackouts weren't just an inconvenience, they were a daily struggle. Imagine a life where the whir of a blender making a morning smoothie was a distant memory, where families gathered around flickering candles at night, their conversations punctuated by the rumble of generators struggling to cope with the demand. This was the new reality for millions of Cubans. The lack of reliable electricity turned everyday tasks into logistical nightmares. Food spoiled in powerless refrigerators, forcing families to make difficult choices about what little they could salvage. Hospitals, already grappling with shortages, faced agonizing decisions about which life-saving equipment could be powered by their dwindling fuel reserves. The blackouts exposed the fragility of Cuba's infrastructure, a stark reminder of the challenges faced by this island nation. The psychological toll was undeniable. The uncertainty, the lack of control over something as basic as light, wore down even the most resilient spirits. The usual vibrancy of Cuban life, the music spilling out of bars, the laughter echoing through the streets, was muted, replaced by a sense of collective anxiety. Yet, even in the darkness, the spirit of the Cuban people endured. Neighbors helped neighbors, sharing what little they had and finding solace in their shared predicament. The tourism industry, a vital lifeline for Cuba's economy, found itself teetering on the brink. The idyllic image of white sand beaches and vintage cars was now overshadowed by the reality of power cuts and dwindling resources. Hotels, once bustling with international travelers, stood eerily quiet, their once bright facades now shrouded in darkness. Havana, the crown jewel of Cuban tourism, felt the impact most acutely. Luxury hotels, accustomed to catering to the whims of discerning travelers, struggled to provide even the most basic amenities. Air conditioning sputtered and died, leaving guests sweltering in the tropical heat. Elevators ground to a halt, forcing visitors to navigate darkened stairwells. The romantic allure of a Cuban vacation was quickly fading, replaced by the harsh realities of a nation in crisis. In Varadero, a famed beach resort town, the situation was no less dire. The once pristine pools lay still, their turquoise waters now murky without the constant hum of filtration systems. Restaurants known for their fresh seafood and vibrant atmosphere struggled to operate, their menus limited by the lack of refrigeration. The power outages, once a temporary inconvenience, were now threatening to dismantle the very industry that Cuba had painstakingly built over decades.